What do women most commonly struggle with behind the scenes that nobody talks about?
I think a lot of it comes down to a lot of it is imposter syndrome, but it's imposter syndrome masquerading as I'm not smart enough or I don't actually know what I'm doing. It's not that no one's going to listen to me because we hit a point where we think no, people are actually listening, right? I've seen some success, I've experienced some things, but it becomes this, well, I've only been in business for 3 years. I've only been in business for 5 years. I've been in business for 16 years and I still say, "Oh, I don't actually know what I'm doing today.
Mhm,
I don't know what I'm doing." And we downplay our capacity. We downplay our ability to actually understand the game, right?
mhm. Yep.
The business is a game. We understand, we know, we are locked in, and we downplay our understanding of what we're about. And we diagnose ourselves as small when we are so much bigger and more fulfilled and have more capacity than we give ourselves credit for.
Each week, I'm joined by my co host, Claudia Cuevas, licensed marriage and family therapist, as we explore the stories, lessons, and emotional realities behind transformation. Because reinvention isn't just about changing our circumstances, it's about understanding yourself, it's about healing, it's about letting go of who you thought you had to be so you can become who you were always meant to be. Pull up a chair and join us at the table. This is Elevate Within. Hello and welcome back to Elevate Within. I'm your host, Sandy Davis.
And I'm your co-host, Claudia J. Cuevas.
This week, we sat down with Jennifer Jayne, founder of the Fempreneur Collective, for an honest and incredible conversation about narcissistic abuse, rebuilding your life after leaving a relationship that no longer serves you, and the power of community and healing process. Jennifer shared her journey of leaving a decade-long marriage, rebuilding her identity, creating meaningful community for women entrepreneurs, and learning that productivity isn't the same as purpose. Today, Claudia and I are going to explore some of the deeper themes from Jennifer's story, including why so many high-achieving women can become vulnerable and being in an unhealthy relationship and struggle to receive support, and what it takes to trust yourself enough to choose a different path. Let's get into it. Claude?
Let's do it. I mean, what an amazing episode. It was
Absolutely.
so amazing. And you haven't heard it, please, to our listeners, go back, put this on pause, go listen to it because we're really going to get into it today and talking about some of the themes that I kind of noticed were kind of coming up for me as a therapist. I put my therapist like hat on lens in, right? And so I want to be really clear. We're not going to analyze Jen and we're not going to do anything, but I am going to abstract some themes and some things that came up. I mean, one of the things that probably a lot of people want to talk about is the narcissistic and her getting out of that relationship, which kudos to her. I know it takes a long time to get out. And so, I want to really say great job and how brave she was to be able to kind of take that
Absolutely.
on, right? But one of the things that I kind of, heard was her, very high achieving, go-getter, very capable, very successful. I mean, she became successful. Her timeline, it was like 6 months. Nope, got it done in 3. I mean, she is just
She
such a high.
retired her husband. Like, not too many women can say that. I retired my husband
Jeez.
before 32.
Yeah. I mean, she is high achieving, right?
Yes.
Um, and so maybe our listeners or even herself, she even said like, how did I not catch some of these, um, signs before, right? Like hindsight is always really, deceiving because of course being out of it, then having that perspective and then going back, you can say like, God, the red flags were there. How did you not catch them?
Hmm.
But I do want to talk about how sometimes, you know, being very intelligent, very high achieving, it just does not make us immune to unhealthy relationships, right?
Right.
Some of those things that make us strong and make us very successful might make us even more vulnerable to being in an unhealthy relationship, right?
Yeah.
And so why? Because those are the things that we see, right? If we start noticing maybe some red flags or some issues in the relationship, right? Um, High achieving women are basically trained. They have those skills to, what's the problem? Solve it,
Mm. Mhm.
right? If it's not working, what's the strategy that we're going to use in order to then find the problem, find the solution, and then let's make it work? And a lot of times it's like we're asking ourselves, oh, this is not working. What do I need to do to make it better?
Yep, that structural mindset.
Yep. The strategic mindset, right?
Mhm.
Which is, I mean, we've been successful. How do you not then implement it into a relationship? And so I think that that's what makes us really vulnerable and makes it even harder to kind of see that other side of, no, a relationship isn't a corporation,
Mhm. You're
right?
right.
And so sometimes we'll just take on a lot of the emotional load in a relationship because we're just so really used to kind of going in there, putting in the strategy. So maybe we need to communicate more. Maybe I need to stay home more. Maybe I need to cook more for him, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so that makes us miss some of those red flags and make us vulnerable because uh, a manipulator, right, will find those traits like they just have a second sense and to find what our vulnerability is, right,
Mhm.
and then latch onto it and then make it our problem.
Mhm.
Right? You work too
Could
much.
could it be, and I'm sure I've had not to that extreme of toxic relationships, but being the overworked, the high achiever, always thinking strategy, infrastructure, structure. When it comes to relationships, there needs to be some kind of emotion involved. But as a high achieving woman, we're told in corporate America or entrepreneurship, whatever, we're not supposed to have emotion.
Uh-huh.
And so is it because we just kind of gloss over it because we don't even know how to remember to process emotion, or do we process emotion and then kind of explode where we're not doing it in a healthy way? We're either exploding with emotion or we're shrinking ourselves in relationship. Is that, does that make
Yeah,
sense?
I think it's both, right? It's yes and. And so
Got it.
it is that we are very capable of compartmentalizing emotion, right? But then in turn that that will be used against us. Okay?
Hmm.
Because we're supposed to be the emotional one and because we're able to compartmentalize and kind of, so then we are made to feel guilty that we're not emotional enough. And so
Hmm.
then our partner or the manipulator is saying, you're not here. You're not, I don't feel that you love me enough. And then we say, "Well, yeah, because I'm not this like lovey dovey person and I'm not constantly like, you know, on their ego and being this emotional person with them. It automatically makes us feel guilty. And then what do? Oh, I just need to put more effort into it
Hmm.
because effort equals success,
Yep.
right? And so it's, you're not trying hard enough. You're not communicating enough. And so we're stretching ourselves very thin when it comes to
Hmm.
that. And so it makes us even more vulnerable,
Got it. That
right?
makes sense.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, because we're able to kind of put emotions to the side, that in turn, as a woman, makes us feel guilty.
Hmm.
And that makes us
Yeah.
even more vulnerable to the manipulation.
Could it could it also be just exhaustion? I know when I have been in relationships while working, I'm already exhausted by the time I get home.
Yeah.
And I found in my past relationships that they started to become exhausting because when I wanted to come home, I just wanted to shut everything down. Although my brain was still thinking about work, but it's like, oh my God, I'm thinking about work and I have to deal with this human being that I love, but I'm too exhausted to deal with.
And that is the burden that is placed on us as women.
Mm.
That we have to not only, right, we have chosen to be in these high achieving careers, but that when we come home, the emotional load in a relationship still falls on us.
Yep.
And so, yeah, that's exhausting, right? Especially if you have someone who is a manipulator, has narcissistic tendencies, right? That they are sitting back with their arms crossed, going, and now what you're going to give me? You're
Right.
not giving me enough. You're not doing enough, which goes, which, which kind of goes against but I'm a high performer. What do you mean? Like, oh, and so then immediately we go into, we gotta, let's strategy. What do we do? How much more can I give? How much can I do? And the problem in an unhealthy relationship is that they're sitting back, putting it all on us. A healthy relationship will say, hey, what can I do? How can I take on some of this emotional load? What's my responsibility in this relationship? That is a healthy relationship, right? It's a give and take.
Yeah.
But as high achievers, we'll miss it. We'll miss that.
Yeah. And this is going to sound like such an ignorant question, but what are some of the flags for a healthy relationship? I think
Mm.
I understand more of a toxicity of just how we feel, but I am embarrassed to say, okay, but what's the signs of a healthy one?
Yeah. It really is that, right? It's the conversation of how, how do I show up for you too?
Mm-hmm.
This is how you could show up for me, but how can your partner is checking in on what do you need from me? An unhealthy relationship is only going to ask, what are you giving to me?
Mm,
It's so simple.
right.
It really is. It's so simple that you have a partner that is interested in what you're doing, not only in your success, right? But also in how you're doing emotionally.
Mm,
And that is sometimes so foreign to us because now we're going to have to look at our own background, right? And we're
right.
going to have to look at like what we, in informing our identity and informing who we are, where do we qualify or where do we get validation from, right? And so that's the part where you have to kind of look at what do I expect from a partner?
Yep.
Because
And
sometimes
it
all
sounds,
we know is to do, give. We're natural givers. And if we're not natural givers, it is an expectation from women.
yeah. And I'm glad you brought up that point because it's almost, I almost felt embarrassed to ask that question. I
I
was like,
know.
hey, I can deal with work stuff and
Hmm.
strategizing and problem solving, but I have an issue with how can I identify the red flags
Hmm.
or the safe flags?
Hmm.
And how do I communicate when I'm exhausted? Almost leading to how do I learn how to trust
Hmm.
myself and having those conversations?
Hmm. 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 And that's the part where like that becomes part of your history, right? Because it might be foreign to you because you didn't see that when you were growing up. You didn't know what a healthy relationship was. You're just you're you know what it is to be successful at work. And so naturally, it's going to be, this is what I'm going to put into my relationship. This is what it
Yeah.
takes. I overwork. I overcompensate. I give too much. You know, and so a manipulator, right? A toxic person, a narcissistic tendencies will hone in on that. A lot of the times I have clients say, how do I stop attracting these type of men?
Yeah.
And I say, you're not attracting them. They're honing in on you
Wow.
because they're attracted to you. You're just living life, going down your merry way, right? And then they're like, there it is. This is a
Is it
person who's distracted. This is a person who's a high achiever. This is a person who, is self-reliant. They don't need my money. They don't need nothing emotionally from me. I can just leech on to that.
wow. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because I was about to ask you, like, what is it that I'm doing? Like, how am I,
Right.
what signs are they seeing that I'm not seeing for myself?
Being self-sufficient.
Mm.
Imagine a manipulator, right? So someone who has narcissistic tendencies, what they are lacking is self-worth.
Mhm.
Okay. And what they are needing is a lot of validation, right? So when you have a narcissistic tendency relationship, they will come after you with all their shortcomings.
Mhm.
You're no good, you're not smart, it's I think Jen said it really, one of the things that she said was like death by 1,000 paper cuts, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was like so powerful because that is exactly what an unhealthy relationship is, right? Period. It is, I'm gonna just keep on poking on every single thing that I can cut you down from because I need to feel powerful, because I need to feel intelligent. They're really just talking about themselves. They're not
Mhm.
talking about you. You wouldn't be who you are, right? But they'll try
Facts.
to, yeah, there's no way, right? I remember, long time ago, I also had like, an unhealthy relationship. And then I'd be like, well, because you're just afraid and you're always afraid. And I'd be like, I literally went like this. He's like, what? I'm like, I don't know who you're talking to because that's not me. But I
Right.
could have gotten right into it and be like, am I? A healthy person will go, could that be true? They would take in and go, I don't know. Well, maybe. Am I missing some? Right? Like it's just a normal, intuitive kind of thing to do. The unhealthy relationship, you can go like, hey, I think you're being rude. And it's, what do you mean? I'm not, you're rude immediately. Flag number
Right.
one. Flag number
Right.
one.
Right.
Right. They're not introspective. They cannot take criticism ever.
Hmm.
So, run, run.
Yeah, this is some great advice and some good identifiers. How do we, I understand we have to identify it, and thanks for some of those tips and tools. For me, and I'm sure for a lot of other women, it's also a trust factor. Like, are
Uh-huh.
we making the right decisions? I feel like
Uh-huh.
in work, we feel like we're making the right decisions. When it comes to personal relationships, whether it's friendships, marriage, dating, um, it's almost as if we're lost or we
Uh-huh.
don't know like how to maneuver. And how do I trust my instincts for that?
hmm I think uh, I have a really, really good little kind of exercise, right? So this is something, and not only in emotional relationships, even in your job, your clients, anything that you, because those are also relationships, right?
Mhm.
And so you can ask yourself this, right? Does something feel off in my relationship? And what is my first instinct? Where do I first go when I start kind of honing into that feels off? Do I immediately look inward and assume I need to fix something about myself? Or
Yep.
do I allow myself to ask whether the relationship itself might be contributing to what I'm feeling?
Hmm.
And the more and more you become comfortable with asking yourself those questions, the more you will be able to get out of a unhealthy relationship quicker the next time,
Mm. Got it.
because you're giving yourself that space,
Right.
right? To kind of question yourself and not immediately go to fix it.
Right. Or that guilt. I think
Uh-huh.
for a lot of women, it's the guilt. It's like, okay, I am working too much. And maybe it is me.
Uh-huh.
And I have to fix it, which is
Uh-huh.
even more exhausting and what I felt increased the burnout of just my life. So not just corporate burnout, but just burnout in
Yep.
general.
Yep. And so that's the question also with your relationship and your job, right? Or your career. Is what
Mhm.
I'm doing, is it something I need to fix, or is the job sucking the life out of me, right? What's the problem here? Do I just need to kind of work harder, or do I instinctually go to like I just need to fix him more, or do I go this is no longer aligning with who I am,
Mm.
career and in the relationship? That's a really hard question to kind of pose when you're in a emotional relationship,
Mhm.
because a lot of the times we are one person in our job, and then emotionally we take on our past.
Yeah.
There's a switch that happens where we then become our mom who was always in really bad relationships, and we
Mhm.
just take on those roles, like, because that's what we've seen, how to handle those relationships, right? We've created how to be successful.
Mm.
We created that person. But in emotional relationships, right, we tend to take on who our role models were.
Right. That
And
makes
so
a lot of sense.
we have to be really conscious about, no, who I am at work can be who I am at home too, right? We
Right.
chose how to be that person.
Mm. What is something that a woman that's listening to this right now and is suddenly like, that sounds like me.
Uh-huh.
And it sounds like I'm currently going through that. And you provided the questions, but what is something that she can do today or right now to get that light bulb to go off?
It is to, on a daily basis, ask ourselves, is what I am doing, are all the things that I am doing aligning with who I want to be in the future? And I think that the second question is, am I in a relationship with a person who is willing to take a look at that, become an actual partner, or are they going to just automatically say no?
Right. Jennifer also brought up about, her community,
Hmm.
how when she finally escaped from
Uh-huh.
Texas during the lockdown of COVID, and it was like, past Jen as she's making her way up to the Canadian border. How important is it for women who are in these types of relationships, not really understanding the role or just kind of dealing with it? How important is it to communicate that with their closest friends or family?
I think one of the hardest things is being able to be honest, right?
Mm.
And so honesty is going to start with yourself. By the time you start being honest, you might find yourself really isolated. And so, manipulators love that. They work
Yeah.
hard on that, right? And so really being honest with yourself, right? Being honest with your community. A lot of the times if you start finding yourself having to let go of relationships, let go of friendships, because again, if you're in a really toxic relationship, they will want you to stop. They'll
Right.
know who the problem friends are. And the problem friends are the ones that are like, that's not okay. What are you doing?
Yep.
Hey, no. Why are you letting him do that? Right. So that's the first people they're going to want to isolate you from.
Mm.
So be really, really honest with yourself of, am I being isolated? Right. Am I losing friendships? And so if yes, and you're already isolated, then making those connections are going to be really important, right? So finding local groups, finding, there's a lot of there's a lot of groups for domestic violence. And so we're really kind of afraid to kind of even delve into that because we're like, well, he doesn't hit me and he's not,
Right.
that's not, I'm not being, it's not domestic violence in that way. And there's so many levels when it comes to, emotional abuse, financial abuse, physical abuse. I mean, there's so many levels, but there are groups, and there are anonymous groups. There are, you don't have to tell them who you are. There's a lot of resources in the community, but you need some backup when it comes to that, right? And so you
Yeah.
need to start connecting, even if it's one person, right? Even if it's that one friend that you got isolated from, who I
Right.
promise you is waiting for you to reach out to them
Yeah.
again.
And also shedding that embarrassment
Yes, the
of
shame behind
the
that.
shame, the embarrassment, like, hey, I'm so successful. I cannot
Yeah,
believe
yeah,
I'm in this situation. I think for myself and a lot of women, it's the embarrassment, one. And two, if you're in that marriage or that relationship for years, there's some women that have stated, like, I divorced my partner after 25 years, 20 years. And it's just like, that almost feels like a failure for a lot of women.
I know. Listen, people stay because their strengths that have served them well elsewhere can sometimes make it harder to recognize when a relation has become unhealthy.
Mm.
Being intelligent doesn't make us immune, right? And so those qualities that make you successful can be the thing that make you the most vulnerable.
Mm.
And so a lot of the times it's when they're hitting their 50s, going, right, they're transitioning out of these big corporate jobs. They're going into like early retirement. They're seeking something else. And this career doesn't work for me anymore,
Mm-hmm.
also highlights this relationship is no longer serving me well.
Right.
And it's okay. It's okay.
I love that.
You don't have to stay, right? If you don't have to stay in that job, you also don't have to stay in an unhealthy relationship. Again, one of the things that you have to kind of be really honest with you is my partner willing to evolve with me? Can we create a different relationship? And ask yourself that. Am I in a partnership that is willing to do that for me? And in your gut, they'll say no. And
Yep.
you're going to have to ask yourself that question too, right?
And trust in the answer.
Trust that it's the best decision for you, for both
Yeah.
of you. Because if you're changing, you're not going to align with them either.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be an unhealthy relationship. It could be an okay relationship
Right.
that worked well because you were gone and they were golfing and you were, busy and you're not in each other's, way. And all of a sudden they're there all the time. And you're going, who are you? What? You're actually boring, right? Again,
Yeah.
not talking in an unhealthy way, but just like oh,
Right.
no, I want to have conversations and I want to now travel. And now all of a sudden you find yourself 25 years later going like, oh, he's a homebody? What?
I'm laughing because that resonates. I've been there.
Mhm. Like
I've been there.
they were great while, you were busy,
Mm-hmm.
and they were awesome because you're like, great, you're busy.
Right.
So just honesty, really being honest with yourself.
Claudia, you are amazing. Thank you. I'm
Well,
pretty sure these are some great antidotes. And we're learning. We're recognizing our defaults, our weaknesses, and getting in real time antidotes of how to
yeah,
recognize and how to heal.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. I'm excited about next week. I can't
Yes,
wait to get
yes.
on the talk about the next guest. So thank you. And we will see everybody next Friday.
I'll see you all.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. If this conversation resonated with you, you're not alone. That's exactly why this space exists. Elevate Within is for the high-achieving women in the messy middle, the space between who you were and who you're becoming. The architecture of reinvention is an invitation to pause, to reflect, to heal, and to begin the process of unbecoming everything you were told you had to be, so you could become who you were always meant to be. Be sure to join us each Friday for our Architecture of Reinvention Roundtable discussions, where we continue these conversations and explore the deeper lessons, insights, tools, and reflections that emerge from each story. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube so you never miss an episode. For Apple Podcast listeners, I would be grateful if you leave a rating or review. It helps reach more women who may need this conversation right now. And if you'd like to go deeper, join us on Substack at Elevate Within. There, you'll find weekly essays and honest conversations about burnout, grief, reinvention, resilience, healing, and the messy middle. Free subscribers receive full access to all public content, while paid subscribers receive bonus essays, early access to upcoming series, behind-the-scenes recording, and opportunities to engage directly with the community. If you know of a woman who needs to hear this conversation today, please share it with her. You can find me on LinkedIn under Sandra Davis, on Substack at Elevate Within, and if you're in need of fractional COO work or would like to book a discovery call on how I can help, you can reach out to me at elevateopsadvisory.com. You'll find all those links in the show notes. Until next time, keep elevating personally, professionally, and from within.